Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博然。Despite being just a small island city of around 33 square kilometers, Macau punches above its weight in almost every arena. The city has among the highest life expectancy rates in the entire world at 85.5 years of age. The region's per capita GDP last year was the second highest in the world at nearly US $70,000. It's also the most densely populated region on the planet, with 20,600 people per square kilometre. And here's a figure you probably didn't know. Macau pulled in nearly 3 times the gambling revenue of Las Vegas last year. Las Vegas. Macau is one of China's 2 special administrative regions located near Guangdong province of the Chinese mainland and just 60 kilometres from China's other SAR, Hong Kong. Today, Macau is celebrating the 25th anniversary of its return to China. I went there recently to chat with a mix of locals about what that means to them, and I also have a special guest on the show today, Harold Bruning, a German national who runs a daily newspaper and has called Macau home for the past 4 decades. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Boham in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. I'm honoured to welcome today's special guest, a German national named Harold Bruning, who's not only director of the Macau Post Daily, but has also lived in Macau for 4 decades. Harold, welcome to Reports on China.
Happy to talk to you.
You too. Now, what I want to do on today's show is watch the interviews I did recently in Macau and then briefly discuss each question with you. So if it's okay with you, let's start with the first question. Located in southern China near Guangdong province and just 60 kilometers from Hong Kong is Macau, one of China's 2 special administrative regions. Today, Macau celebrates the 25th anniversary of its return to China. Now, I went there recently to check the place out for myself and chatted with 6 locals about their city, its history, the one country, 2 systems policy, gambling, and more. They are Associate Professor Agnes Lam from the University of Macau, Zhu Rongqian, a local tour guide, Godfredo Castillo, a local teenager with a Chinese mother and Portuguese father, Wu Jianzhong, head of the library at the University of Macau, Ho Kevin Qinglun, a politician and businessman who currently represents Macau in Beijing at the National People's Congress, and last but not least, Harold Bruning, director of the Macau Post Daily, a German national who's called the city home for the past 4 decades. Let's see what they have to say about Macau.
Macau has a very rich history. First of all, I must stress, we have never been a part of the Portuguese colony. We were managed by the Portuguese government 400 odd years ago. We have always been part of mainland China.
当时候澳门就是一个正式可以让外国商船停靠停泊的一个码头，而且明朝官员就可以在这边开始我们说收税等等，所以澳门是从明朝中叶的时候就变得非常重要。
给我们的明朝、清朝政府每年都要交地租银500两的白银，留在了澳门经商，当时是要服从中央政府的管辖。
可是这个租金他们也交了好多年，然后后来就也不交了，所以他当时就单方面宣布澳门为自由港，然后也单方面的没有得到清朝政府的同意。
Well, finally, in 1999, Macau was returned to Chinese administration. It's very important to point out it was not a change in sovereignty because China never gave up sovereignty over Macau, of course.
Oh, interesting. So, Harold, you've lived in Macau for a staggering 40 years, which means you've actually experienced the city before and after returning to China. I wondered what drew you to the place initially.
Well, I came to Macau first time in April 1980 when I was visiting Hong Kong, and it was sort of love on first sight. That doesn't happen only with people, but even with places. And, well, I like particularly its multiculturalism, its cuisine, which is one of the oldest fusion cuisines on our planet, Portuguese Asian fusion of all types of different recipes and ingredients. And I like the architecture. I like the people. I mean, without people, it wouldn't work, right? So I like the whole package, and then one reason, of course, the language, because I studied Portuguese at the University of Munich alongside Spanish, and another point to attract me to Macau, of course. And here I am. And then in 1985, I moved to Macau to work as a journalist here, as a news correspondent for some 20 years. And then 20 years ago, we launched our newspaper, the Macau Post Daily, and I gave up all my correspondence jobs.
Awesome. It's so lucky to find a place that you fall in love with straight away. Let's check out the next question.
Obviously, under the Portuguese management, the Chinese has very limited power or even freedom to express themselves. There are many unfair justices and unfair events.
其实葡萄牙管理澳门的整个那个历史时间大多数时候我们都说中葡双方是非常友好的，他们是我们说历史上面的冲突实际上非常的少尤其是大型冲突非常的少。
也会有一些子弟去考取公务员，然后去追求更加高的生活素质。但是一般来讲，我们澳门本土的居民的话，就是有个安乐茶饭，安安稳稳的过好小日子就行了。
Luckily, Macau was a peaceful land, so everything was settled in a peaceful way.
Now, what I made out from my visit and from talking with you guys is that Macau and Hong Kong, despite both being special administrative regions of China, they've both kind of experienced completely different paths. And why do you think that is?
Well, there are various reasons. One is that Hong Kong was militarily occupied by Britain in the mid-19th century. Macau somehow came under more or less peaceful settlement of the Portuguese, and Macau in the mid-16th century, I mean, it's an awfully long time ago, Macau as a place between East and West is older than most independent states, right? 400 years is a long time. Since about 1557, I think that's one point. It has a more peaceful background to its history, right? To its becoming an entrepreneur between the West and the East. I think the other point is that people in Macau, I mean, Chinese people who nowadays made up over 90% of the population, have always identified with China. While in Hong Kong, we had an elite who tried to be very British, and we don't have that in Macau. And, the culture is different in Macau because it's a bit influenced by Southern Europe, even the cuisine. Hong Kong is very British to a certain degree. Even nowadays, they have common law there. We have our legal system is Portuguese, which is similar actually to the Chinese one because it's a continental European codified law, which is basically French, German. And so there are all kinds of reasons why Hong Kong and Macau are very different. I think I wrote once in a column that Hong Kong and Macau are two Chinese territories, but they are situated on two different planets.
I really feel that when I was there. It feels like a night and day difference, I think. Let's go to the next question.
Well, one country means, of course, one China, right? I mean, mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. And of course, there are two systems. The one system is the socialist system in the mainland. And then you have those systems, capitalist systems, actually practiced in Macau, Hong Kong, and Taiwan.
We have good autonomy. We can do everything that Macau has been doing. And under the support by the central government, we have excelled ourselves over the past 25 years. One country, two systems in Macau has been very successful, I must say.
澳门大学呢是一国两制在澳门的一个典范， 如果没有一国两制，就没有今天的澳门大学。
澳门其实土地很小，所以呢很依赖祖国对澳门的扶持。比如说，中国就租了一块横琴给澳门，让澳门在那边建澳门大学。
澳门大学占地1.09平方公里，它是原校区的20倍。澳门呢虽然是实行的是资本主义的制度，但是它背靠了祖国，就像澳门大学，它背靠了祖国的这样一个庞大的一个强大的后盾，它有更多的这个资源。
So Harold, you have quite a deep understanding and experience as well of the one country, two systems policy. Do you feel like Macau is maybe a model example in a way?
It certainly is. I think Macau is the best example of that principle, one country, two systems, being able to work to the advantage of the whole country and also to its own advantage. I think it's, of course, it's a unique system. I don't think you have something like that anywhere else in the world, right? In Hong Kong, now the situation is improving politically, but it was difficult for people or to certain segments of the population to come to terms with it. While in Macau, it was never controversial, starting in 1999, even before people knew already that it would come. And I think to a certain degree, it might be an example even for Taiwan, but possibly in a different setting.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think they'll be looking on with eager eyes. Let's move to the next question.
我觉得大部分的澳门人肯定会觉得回归以后生活会更好的。第一，因为整个社会富裕了嘛，然后澳门可能回归前，我说它就是一个比较小的城市当时你可能在澳门很多东西我们都没见过，比如说你今天可能看在我们有很多大的商场有卖那种什么世界名牌，以前澳门都没有的，我们一般人好像医生都没见过，因为这样的东西要去香港才见得到。
Better is an understatement. It has been much better. If you judged from salary median level, the unemployment rate, GDP, tax revenue, compared to day one of the handover, if you go into any economy and to find one place that is close to what Macau people are enjoying now, I don't think you can find it anywhere in the world.
Okay, like I mentioned before, you've lived in Macau before and after it was returned to China. What's the biggest difference you've noticed since 1999?
People now know that they are running this place. I mean, before it was run by a governor appointed by the Portuguese president 10,000 kilometers away from Macau, it's different, right? And all leading officials that were sent from Portugal, I think basically none of them managed to speak Chinese, Cantonese, or Mandarin. I mean, I think time was up, after over 4 centuries, for 1999 to come. That means Macau's return to the motherland. I think it had to happen, at the turn of the century. It wouldn't have made sense still to have a Chinese city under foreign administration.
Time was up in 1999. Let's move to the next question.
博彩最早一直从古到今都有，那为什么澳门会一枝独秀？因为在鸦片战争以前，屡禁不止。澳门是个通商口岸，最早跟西方接触的一个港口，一个地区，所以全世界的西方的老外这个外国的洋商都会在澳门做生意。那留在这里生活很无聊嘛，对不对？慢慢的赌风就升起了。
One of the main points is that the first chief executive of Macau, Edmund Hohawa, opened up the gaming industry to competition. Before it was a monopoly by just one company. Macau is the biggest gaming economy in the world. I mean, I guess we are 3 times bigger, or at least twice bigger than Las Vegas. And that was a master stroke
Gambling is not only popular in Macau. You see around the world, gambling is one part of entertainment that will help the tourism industry in any particular place. Gaming industry in 2023 only account for 37% of our GDP. Gaming is not everything in Macau.
赌博在澳门是合法的，澳门有它自己的一套法律，而且呢，赌博这个产业呢，在澳门有170年的历史，澳门人已经很习惯它的存在了，所以在澳门很受欢迎。
On the other hand, then, because Macau's casinos pay a gross revenue tax of 35%, which means if you lose 100 patakas in Macau, or Hong Kong dollars actually normally, 35 of it goes directly to the government. Thank you very much, Macau people would say, right? And another 5% are levies that are used for social, cultural, or other kinds of activities, which means 40% out of 100 that is lost on the gaming table goes at least into the public sector, right?
So Harold, in a city where gambling is so important to the economy, how does Macau deal with some of the problems that come with that industry?
Well, there are a couple of organizations and entities that tackle the issue by promoting responsible gambling, both from the government side and also even some casino companies. You know, we have 6 casino operators, concessionaires, who run between them 30 casinos. I mean, that's quite a lot, right? Some are very large, some are smaller, but anyhow, 30 in total. And some of those operators are running their own responsible gaming operations. There are measures that people who are addicted to gambling, they themselves or their families can apply to the government to, we have a gaming inspectorate in Macau, to be banned from entering casinos, right? I mean, those are measures that I hope are efficient, but it's like, I mean, people who want to smoke, they do smoke, right? People who shouldn't drink, some of them will continue drinking, right? I mean, it's also a matter of individual responsibility that people should take,
No, I totally agree. Okay, let's check out the last question.
哇，这太多了！你到赌场周边都是那种奢侈品牌店、名店，那我们现在不用去香港买奢侈品啊，对不对？赌场的周边都是米其林的餐厅，对吧？那好吃的东西不用去香港了，对吧？然后我们看演唱会，澳门现在有很多的赌场都有一个大型的演唱会的场所，现在吸引了世界的顶流来澳门看演唱会，更多的人来到这边。那所以通过赌场带动其他的产业上来。
我们的食物，你可能在澳门整个中国所有省份的菜你都可以吃得到，你可以吃到葡萄牙的、西班牙的、意大利的，所有的西餐基本上可以找到。然后还有很多 fusion， 然后我们希望我们的文化遗产、我们的 fusion， 还有我们的演唱会、我们的表演事业，我们都希望能吸引到游客，就希望大家可以看到博彩以外的另一面。
澳门呢，它是保留了各个时期，它500多年来，它各个时期的这种文化，它都给它保留了下来。它让大家看到澳门不仅仅是一个博彩独大的这样一个地方，而是一个文化多元的地方。你在这里可以看到各种各样或者经历各种各样不同的文化。
我会推荐澳门呢，是一个有浓厚历史文化气息，一个美丽繁华的一个城市。然后呢，在澳门呢，不仅可以赌博，还有许多配套的娱乐设施，还有文化设施。
而且你会看见，你认识一个澳门人，你跟他说你们澳门赌博很有名，澳门人很快就会说，除了赌博，我们还有很多东西很好的，他一般都会这样说。就是我们还是希望大家能看到我们文化的另外的一面。
Okay, last question for you too, Harold, and I have to ask this. I didn't ask you when we were in Macau. Are you a gambler, and what do you do for fun otherwise in Macau?
Well, I'm not a gambler. The reason is a very simple reason. Basic reason is that statistics was one of my favorite subjects at university. Probability and all that stuff. But luckily enough for Macau's gaming industry, most people are not very much interested in statistics. I think many of them even dislike statistics because it's sort of not easy to understand. Anyhow, but so I don't gamble. But what do I do for my leisure time? I do something I shouldn't do, but I do it. I eat too much. I think too much good food in Macau. Every Friday and Saturday, those 2 nights, I don't work in the newspaper, so I go out for dining. I'm not really very much into fine dining. I like home-style cooking, I like very common food, the food of the people, like my mother or your mother would cook, right? And that in Macau, you have a lot of places. I mean, you have a choice. You can have very fine dining, and I go there sometimes. Certainly, those chefs are doing their best. But on a daily basis, I prefer Macanese cuisine, actually. The fusion cuisine. It's but I like Portuguese, Thai food, Chinese food. I mean, you get it all in Macau. Italian. I guess we have something like 4,000 restaurants in Macau.
Wow.
It's a huge number, and they are everywhere. I don't think, possibly there's no street in Macau that you don't have a restaurant or coffee shop or takeaway. Nowadays it's always very popular in Macau to take your food home, which I don't like. I like to sit with other people, in a communal atmosphere. I think eating should be a communal atmosphere. A communal matter,
I agree. And you must really love the food to have been there for 40 years already. Harold Bruning from the Macau Post Daily. It was really good to meet up with you in Macau and really awesome to chat with you today as well. Thank you.
Thank you for having me and also for your very pertinent questions.
And on that note, that will be it for today, you guys. But as always, I'd love to know what you have to say. Do let me know down below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.